Do you know a perfectionist? Could be a friend or a colleague, maybe even yourself. Whoever it is, I feel your pain. Getting every little detail right is time-consuming and painstaking. But there are some perfectionists out there who make it look easy. From construction workers and gardeners to artists and even snowball makers, there are plenty of people out there who make precision look painless. So let's take a look at some of the most incredibly satisfying tasks accomplished by real perfectionists. Are you ready? Perfect. Whether you're good at gardening or not, I guarantee you'll appreciate this. You can barely see the hole that was there in the first place. And if you were wondering what that weird cylindrical contraption was, it's actually called a hole cutter. Figures. So why is he cutting out, or rather cutting in, the grass like that? Well, to make the game of golf more interesting, the location of the holes are often moved around the green. That way, golfers have a bit of variety when playing on the same course over and over again. To make the new circular cut of grass blend in easily, an ice pick is used to level the turf so it's not bumpy. Then it's rolled over to make things much smoother. He certainly made that look easy, which brings me to the next section of perfection. When I've been waiting a whole week for my parcel to arrive, I don't really give a second thought about who packaged it. But after watching this video of a factory worker in China, suddenly I can't stop thinking about it. Did you see that? How did he wrap that bike so perfectly with just one throw? Well, watch what he does before throwing. By swaying it side to side, he's building up air pressure within the plastic. When he throws the bag forward onto the bike, the air pressure is released, adding to the limp plastic's momentum, which is what wraps it around the bike. I guess you could say that's a wrap. In the days of old, people prized holy buildings above all else. It was their way of worshiping their god, so only the finest materials and stonemasons would do. These skills took a lifetime to master and were passed down from generation to generation, and eventually to this guy from the Maine Stone Carving Company. This banker mason is working on a column capital out of Spanish limestone. Banker masons are specifically workshop-based and work the limestone into their finished shapes. A capital is actually the very top part of the column, and often the most decorated. As shown, this mason is using his 5-inch blade to carve out many indents into the capital, in order to give it a smooth and refined shape without messing up even once. And as you can see, he's executed it beautifully. No blemishes or chips in sight, which is a heck of a feat. If you're enjoying how satisfying these videos are, then you'll appreciate how satisfying it is to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Done? Okay, who and what's next? Parking lots are pretty ugly places when they're full. The mix of so many different styles and colors of cars feels so disjointed. Luckily, Swiss artist Ursus Wehrli has dedicated an entire project to making parking spaces look and feel more satisfying. In 2011, he spent the day separating and directing cars into their own color-coordinated categories. Directing drivers to steer their vehicles one by one, Wehrli orchestrated and separated 71 cars from their original mismatched parking places into a color-coordinated dream. Is it in any way functional? No. Does it make my brain feel fuzzy looking at it? Absolutely. Who doesn't love eating candy? Well, it turns out you can do more than just eat it. You can make art with it. Artist Adam Hillman posted this strangely satisfying organization creation to Instagram in 2017. Every single M&M and gummy bear is perfectly aligned and color coordinated. Man, he's got a lot more patience and self-control than I'll ever have. Although you don't need to spend time standing them up and laying them out to make them look organizationally appetizing, if this is anything to go by. Simply separating gummy bears out into their own color categories like this is enough to bring tears to my eyes and drool to my mouth. This wasn't Adam's first foray into phenomenal food art, though. Back in 2016, he made a perfect square from cereal pieces, organized by color gradient. Trying to get these arranged in a thin layer of milk must have been a nightmare in and of itself. But then, also sorting through an entire box of cereal to find all the right colored Fruit Loops? Color me impressed. Now, if you've ever worked in clothing retail, you know how tedious folding shirts can be. Getting them to fold in the exact same places and all stack up can be mind-numbing. But whoever folded these shirts has made it look like a work of art. This stack of t-shirts featuring characters from the regular show have been displayed so that the image on the front is exposed on its sides. Yeah, whichever poor, criminally underpaid worker is responsible for this, you're a genius. Until someone inevitably comes along and messes it all up again, this closed display is a perfectionist's dream. We've all been bored out of our minds at some point. You could play a game, read a book, or go for a walk. But this brother and sister duo decided to kill their boredom by visiting a local Walmart and organizing their sale bin. Hey, whatever keeps kids off the street these days. These before and after pictures were taken just 45 minutes apart. And in that short time, they managed to stack over 350 individual boxes into neat little rows. The staff let them go on with it after asking them what they were doing. They should have given them a job instead. Gardening requires a lot of focus and care, especially when trimming hedges. One wrong move can leave you with an unsightly hedge hole or a wonky top. Many top-rate gardeners measure out and plant their hedge lines meticulously beforehand. But not this guy. Barely breaking a sweat, this guy uses an electric hedge trimmer and sweeper to effortlessly glide over the top of the hedge and level it out. He doesn't go too deep and keeps it level without any measuring equipment whatsoever. Now that's neat. But the professional hedge cutters over at Ainsworth & Sons in Melbourne, Australia, take this skill one step further. Using a variety of tools designed to reach any height, they effortlessly trim hedges of all shapes and sizes, from super tall hedges to brilliantly round balls, and even carving words into the hedges themselves. What an efficient green machine! But a tree trimming and lawn maintenance service located in California has also been stepping up to satisfy the green-thumbed world with their incredible skills. Watch how smoothly this guy trims the top leaves of this bush. That scratches an itch I didn't know I had. The trimmer here, Carlos Scissorhands, which is a phenomenal name, doesn't just trim hedges though. Watch him trim this tree into a perfect point in a matter of seconds. Between Carlos Scissorhands and Ainsworth & Sons, I couldn't tell you whose work was better. What do you think? Let me know down below. Washing the patio seems like a chore, right? No one wants to spend their Sunday cleaning the driveway of all that muck and debris, but boy is seeing the before and after of it satisfying. This particular company, Aqua Driveways, who are based in the UK, use a surface cleaner to turn dirty, aged bricks and concrete into sparkling, clean scenes. When cleaning a large area to such perfection, you need quite a powerful machine at your disposal. Thankfully, a typical surface cleaner can fire out water with a maximum pressure of 4,000 pounds per square inch at 2 gallons of water a minute. That's the weight of a white rhino launched at an area of floor the size of an SD card. No wonder they get the job done so fast. Meanwhile, in the US, Cody Urban from Illinois uses his precise power washer to create patterns on the grimy paving slabs. Man, this is so intricate it belongs in an art gallery. Imagine it being presented to the public. This piece is called an ode to pressure. The medium is water, fired at high velocity on concrete. Truly a masterpiece. I don't know if there's a feeling more satisfying than walking into a store and seeing all the items on the shelves lined up at the edges. Stores know we like this too, and workers are often sent off to do facing, where products on otherwise empty-looking shelves are pulled forward so that the customer can see what's in stock. And while it's nice to look at, some stores go the extra mile and organize products like these drinks by color along not just the shelves, but the corners too. Ooh, man, if I was faced with this in real life, I'd feel bad about buying just one. I'd have to buy a whole row. If you own a phone, a computer, or a pair of wired headphones, you'll know exactly how frustrating knotted wires can be. And anyone who's ever stepped foot in a server room knows just how hellish dealing with this mess en masse is. It's like cable spaghetti. So whoever said, "Not today, Satan," and organized all of these wires deserves a gold medal. Make that 2 for whoever took a before and after of this room when they decided to apply a little sanity to the space. Satan be gone! But it gets better. Take a look at this video of the sheer number of electrical cables needed for a Rammstein concert, all organized in a way that'll make your brain tingle. Around 60 individual wires run on the floor, lined neatly together in a row, all providing an enormous amount of power from a generator outside to the stage inside. According to Power Pete, the man tasked with powering this live event, it took about 4 to 6 hours to lay everything out and arrange it. Now that is some heavy-duty metal. Anyone living in areas that receive snow regularly knows just how much of a pain the white stuff can be. If left to build up, it can block roads, sidewalks, doors. Heck, after a few inches, some entire countries come to a standstill. Well, the owners of a cabin in Lapland, Finland, had to deal with a lot more snow than they were used to in January 2022. Between 30 to 60 inches of snow can usually fall at that time of year, which is as small as just 2 bowling pins on top of one another, to roughly the same height as an average adult woman. They ended up using a snow removal tool, which slices through the snow with tough blades, breaks it into cubes, and forces it to the ground. The plastic sheet underneath allows the snow to fall much easier, too. What they didn't expect, however, was how strong the winds and sub-zero temperatures actually were, which made the snow even more dense. When the snow settles, its density can rise from 3 to 4 pounds per cubic foot to 12 to 18 pounds per cubic foot. So you better get out of the way when it falls. Why? Well, that might not sound all that heavy, but at the top end, those blocks weigh the same amount as an entire standard push bike. I'd be scared if it wasn't so mesmerizing watching those blocks of snow slide down. Watching something rough get smoothed over is one of the most satisfying sights around. And when it's done at an industrial scale, it only gets better. Missouri-based Lance Buildings knows this all too well, and posted this extremely pleasing video of a large section of concrete being smoothed down back in 2022. The tool he's using is a bowl float, used specifically for finishing concrete. It's needed to level and smooth down the surface so that any foundation on top is laid down evenly. In this case, the foundation is for a porch section of a barn dominium, a condo and barn hybrid. I had no idea this type of house existed, but now I'm pretty sure I want Lance Buildings to make one for me. But it turns out there's actually more than one super satisfying way to spread concrete. What we have here, instead of a bowl float, is the worker using what's called a mortar applicator to scrape the mortar into place. This type of tool can take up to 45 pounds of the material and adjust its size from 15 inches to 35 inches, depending on how big the area that needs covering is. This makes it extremely useful for creating lines of mortar that will be compacted down and spread out once the floor tiles are laid on top. The perfectly straight lines it produces are definitely a visual bonus too. If you're a bit of a clean freak like me, who loves seeing things cleaned with maximum efficiency, then you're going to love what I'm about to show you. Back in 2018, a janitor at McGill University in California stunned a class of students after perfectly cleaning a chalkboard in one stroke. Forget the lecturer. I want to take a lesson from this guy. Wood is one of the first materials early humans ever started using, with some of the first woodworked logs that we've found so far dating back more than 500,000 years. Fast forward to today, and we've come a long way from a few old logs. Just take a look at how this incredibly talented woodworker has crafted a near seamless join between two planks of wood. Looks a bit like magic. This particular carpenter has calculated their measurements so well that their handcrafted joints slide flawlessly into each other. Just a few taps, and it's a perfect fit. Now in this clip, the Kawai Sugite joint, invented by Tokyo University professor Shinobu Kobayashi in 2015, reveals the best of Japanese woodworking. Kobayashi created a joint that can fit together in 3 different formations. Instead of having to make extra joints, the Kawai Sugite can fit sections together in multiple orientations, whether it be up, down, or sideways. That's got me so stunned I don't know which way is up. Ivy can become a beautiful natural decoration, winding up the side of your house. But when it gets out of hand, it can invade your bricks, break into your pipes, and cause havoc. But luckily, there's a team of perfectionists out there that know exactly how to tackle this great green menace. Whoa, it came off like one whole solid wall of ivy. You'd think tearing it away like that would make things worse, but pulling the plant at a 45-degree angle allows it to come away in one piece. The more you know, Once the ivy is fully killed off, there's no more damage it can do. So removing it this way is the best method of extraction. Man, I wish I'd been there. I'm green with ivy. Envy. In construction work, it's not always about the heavy lifting and hauling. Sometimes the most intricate jobs, like road painting, are the most difficult and the most satisfying. See what I mean? Construction workers paint the signs onto the tarmac themselves, pouring paint into a specially designed spread pot that requires precision so fine I get nervous just watching. Some may use stencils, but those who don't are clearly very accomplished, like these pros right here. The paint that's used is actually made from thermoplastic beads, which are molten when heated. When spread on the ground, the plastic cools and hardens quickly, meaning the roadworks take as little time as possible and the sign lasts for longer. Waiting for paint to dry is usually dull, but I could watch this on repeat. After years and years of attempting to make the perfect snowball, some hero, has finally done it. Crushing and crushing the snow until it becomes a flawless sphere is no easy feat, especially if the powdery snow crumbles and falls apart in your hands. While mine always come out looking lumpy, this triumphant picture goes to show that creating a smooth snowball like this is not impossible. But how? Well, YouTuber Colm Reynolds might be able to answer that just by using the top of a grape juice bottle. You just scoop up the snow and then that's so cool. Literally. A lot of us rely on cars to get from A to B, but they can pick up a lot of gross stuff along the way. So, if you're a neat freak, you might want to look away now. In Australia, a company called AutoClean was hired to clean a car filled to the brim with concrete dust, tiling grout, and debris. Ooh, that is nasty. Only one thing for it, a deep clean. It took 4 hours to complete and cost $400, but the restoration was definitely worth the time and money. But if you thought that was bad, well, get a load of this. Posted in California in 2022, this video taken from inside a very dirty car reveals crumbs, packaging, and even bugs everywhere. Surely there's no saving this. After many sprays, wipes, and scrubs, the car is like brand new. Thank God, because the state it was in before was driving me crazy. The painting of a warehouse floor doesn't sound exciting at all, and yet watching this video is mesmerizing. The shiny surface, the smooth flow, the straight lines, it looks so perfect. This gray silk-like paint is actually epoxy coating, a material that's scratch-resistant, long-lasting, and unaffected by chemical spillages, which is why it's used in so many factories and warehouses. But the real magic here is how he manages not to make any footprints in it as he walks. Well, there are actually spikes underneath his shoes, which ensure that prints aren't transferred to the floor. Smart and satisfying. If you ever need a party trick to win over a group of friends who enjoy an alcoholic beverage, or 7, this could be it. Although it looks hard, assembling it is easy. It's the pour that trips people up. This trick is perfected by pouring red grenadine in a cocktail shaker with ice, then filling it with orange juice, and finally, blue curacao. The grenadine is put in first because the other liquids aren't as dense. Grenadine syrup has a density of 9.8 pounds per gallon, whereas orange juice is 8.3 and blue curacao is 9.2. The key here is to tip the container as you pour them in, so they'll sit on top of each other instead of sinking in. Once the blue curacao is in, you have to pour the shots almost instantly after adding it, otherwise they'll blend if turned up right. Wow, who knew shots could be so scientific? Nothing screams game day for an American football fan like seeing a big old logo painted on the field. But East Carolina University has taken this to a whole other level, as they've got a TikTok account dedicated to the turf. Not even the game, literally just the turf. Why? Well, take a look and you tell me. Well, that's unexpectedly satisfying. They use spray paint with a line marker and a sprayer to perfectly trace out and fill in the giant letters and images making up their yellow and purple logo. The type of paint typically used is a thin lacquer or acrylic enamel, which air dries quickly enough to decorate the ground just in time for the match. Woo! Go Pirates! What's the heaviest thing you've ever lifted? How much do you think it weighed? For me, one time at the gym, I deadlifted a whole 50 pounds. Okay, in my defense, I'm only starting out, but still, 50 pounds. That's like 200 sticks of butter. That's pretty impressive when I put it that way, right? Well, no, maybe not as impressive as this. How on earth did each canister land in the exact spot he needed them to? These gas canisters weigh some 20 pounds empty, but when full, they can weigh up to 42 pounds. That's the weight of a medium-sized dog. With 28 canisters on just one row of the truck, it's safe to assume there's at least 5 or 6 rows. That totals the canister count to somewhere between 140 and 170. If he's thrown all of them exactly the way he did in the video, that's approximately 6,000 pounds of full cylinders over his shoulder. That's like 24,000 sticks of butter. I've never felt so weak because of butter before. Being on vacation is some of the most relaxing time you'll ever have. Less so for the staff keeping your resort running. They have to adapt to get things done quickly and keep guests happy. And one worker in a Spanish resort seems to have taken that "quickly" memo to heart. That was 26 chairs he set up in just 12 seconds, and not one of them fell. He must have worked for a long time perfecting that skill. Perhaps he's overdue for a vacation himself. Woo! That was a lot of footage and a lot of perfection. Do you have a favorite perfectionist moment? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.